Coffee Pot Conversations.
Bonjour et bienvenue to Coffee Pot Conversations, the podcast that gives you something a little bit different of Paris. My name is Paul, and I'm here to help you experience the city like a visitor, not a tourist. So, grab yourself a coffee, settle in, let's discover Paris together.
Coming up on Coffee Pot Conversations.
Hello, bonjour, et bienvenue to Coffee Pot Conversations, episode 3.8, an November overnight stay in Paris. Yep, episode 3.8, which means next episode 3.9, a November overnight stay in Paris, will be the last before we have episode 3.10, the best bits. And that's where I give the best bits of the season, or my best bits of the season, because no one's decided they're going to let me know what their best bits have been. I do need to talk to the boys to see what's going on. I would talk to Nev, but she's kind of halfway through episode 3.2, not even halfway through episode 3.2. Hey, so what have we to talk about? Well, coming up in this episode, we have, it's the actual daytime that I'm spending in Paris. I've had my overnight stay in the in the hotel, not the Borstal, and honestly, it wasn't the Borstal. It was a hotel, barely. So I've left Père Lachaise. I've walked all the way down to Bastille. Now I'm making my way from Bastille down to the Louvre. And from there, I will continue my journeys. I don't know how far into my journeys I will continue for this season. I know it's going to continue into season 4. And then I need to decide if I'm going to try and squeeze in shorter episodes or mix and match with my 2-night stay, which took place in February 2025. So at the moment, we're looking at what was taking place in November 2024. For those of you watching on Spotify video or YouTube, you will see that I'm in the queue at Monoprix where I'm buying some toothbrushes. Yep. And I think maybe some deodorant as well. I don't remember. I just need to pop my glasses on. I think it may have been deodorant. Anyway, it was a little gift for Rory because whenever I go, I like to buy them stuff. And they didn't actually ask me, or Rory didn't ask me for anything this time around, except for some chocolate, which I believe I bought the night before. I suspect I end up buying some more later on as well. So that's enough for this episode. Let's do what I do. I was going to say best, but probably for the podcast, it may be the best part. We are looking at the news, the events that's been taking place surrounding Paris, France, and the greater regions where required. Oh, I've just flicked onto something that I didn't mean to flick onto. It was about restitution. That's quite funny. It's museums need a new approach to restitution, and it's all to do with 3 years ago, the Horniman Museum decided they were going to return 72 Benin bronzes to Nigeria because everyone said, oh, it should all be returned. Everything should be given back. Despite how we get them, it should all be given back unless it was gifted, legitimate giftings, such as, the obelisk in Paris, Place de Concorde, a legitimate gift. It should all be returned because, wars of crime or theft or colonialisation, things like that. And I actually ended up going to the British Museum with the boys last week during their Easter holidays, and we saw the British Museum Benin bronzes, which I did study whilst at university. However, these bronzes that the Hornimans have returned have, for the time being, gone missing. So that's not good. However, what that led on to, whilst I was originally reading about that, was the kebab mafia taking over the French high street. Keeping this short, pretty much barbers, nail shops and kebab shops were in an operation sting in Britain. Nearly 300 raids were conducted and 35 arrests were made, and 97 people were suspected of being victims of modern slavery. They were placed under police protection. More than £1 million was frozen because the police believe it to be dirty, generated by Albanian and Kurdish gangs that control much of Britain's organised crime, such as drugs and prostitution. It's nice to hear it isn't the Russians. So they're involved in people smuggling, as well as obviously this dirty money kind of thing, where they're pushing people to and fro across the channel in small boats, which is a totally different issue. I'm not going to go down that road. They carried out a similar operation in France, apparently. And they estimate that the enterprises run by the country's powerful drug cartels in France generate around 2.7 billion euros in profit each year. And the problem with this is, well, obviously it's illegal and stuff, but in the Greater Paris region in 2022, a total of 45,000 anti-fraud operations were conducted and 300,000 counterfeit items were seized. Now, this could just be as simple as a Louis bag being sold in a market. In the last 10 years, the number of barbershops in France has doubled, and there's also been a marked increase in the number of kebab shops. This is according to The Spectator. In February of 2025, the president of the French Towns Association expressed his fear for the future. We're seeing a decline in the quality of establishments that are moving in. Shops are gradually being replaced by kebab shops, barbershops and laundromats, many of which are known to launder drug money. Now, carrying on through this article, you've got all the facts and figures and how everyone's worried and this, that and the other. The thing that worried me was the fact that the town mayor isn't allowed to refuse a shop to be opened. Okay, fair enough. So we're trying to regenerate things. But the more worrying part is a barber's can open without having a professional certificate. Now, occasionally I'll get my hair cut in a barber's. 5-6 minute walk from where I live, just around the corner on the high street. I go in there, I tell them what I want and they do it. It costs me 15 quid. I might leave them a score and that's my tip done. And I see them every, I don't know, 6 to 8 months. Normally never will cut my hair because, look, I'm not made of money and she does a decent job. I've got the clippers, which my nan bought me for Christmas before she passed away, and they're amazing. And she does a great job on my hair. And it costs me, apart from the price of electricity, nothing. Hair done. I don't have much, as you can be seen. Well, actually, I've got my hat on the majority of the time during these videos. Maybe I take it off for the best bits. I don't have much hair, and what I do have, she gets shot of, but in a nice way. However, if you go into a barber shop, you can ask them if they have a qualification, and most of them don't. And I'm thinking whether my one does or not. I know I used to get my hair cut at a barber school, so that's kind of legit. They're learning. You expect maybe they're going to make mistakes. And years ago, when I lived around this sort of area, I used to go to a salon where they had a few shops, and I was hoping that they'd had qualifications. I imagine they would do, because it felt that kind of establishment, as opposed to the place where you go in, well, yes, boss, what do you want? And they slap you down and they use the Jack bottles, spray water, and, you know, they light your ears on fire. Although this one doesn't, which is upsetting because my ear hair has started to really grow. Anyway, that's one thing. So, kebab shops launder money, possibly in Paris. Who knows? Who knew? Talking of who knows and who knew, Toblerone dark chocolate bar discontinued in the UK. Not only knew this because I read it, but my dad knew it. We saw him the other day just before Easter. We went out for Toby Carvery, which is pretty much a Sunday roast with as much veg as you can eat. And yes, I did my vegetable mountain, which generally lasts me for 2 to 3 months. So I don't know what that's going to do to the sales on the ferries and the duty frees. May push the price up even further. That's Toblerones. Have we done Emily in Paris? No, we've not. So Lucas Bravo, Chef Gabriel, is returning for season 5. Hooray! Still being recorded in Rome. Boo. But that's only probably about half of the story, because the other half will come back to Paris. Camille isn't going to be there, although she may return. She wasn't announced in the big staff list or the cast list for the beginning of the season, which is started recording, and they say will be produced and released by 2025. Now, they normally do a December release, so that's good. They still have plenty of time. They should know what they're doing. Yeah, fingers crossed they get it all backed out. What other news do we have? We have a different screen that's just popped up because I'm flicking through these quite quickly. Oh yes, even though the Centre Pompidou has closed, it's still got exhibitions open all the way up until September. I don't say the minor exhibitions, but the smaller exhibitions are still there, so don't be afraid to go visit. You won't be able to go all the way around the gallery, but you still get the chance to see some amazing exhibitions. Bit of sad news that a woman died and a client is in critical condition after cryotherapy session goes wrong in Paris. This was a gym in the 11th arrondissement, and someone's having cryotherapy, not the one where they, freeze your body to go to sleep forever just before you die, or whatever it is to bring you back in 30 years when they say we've got the technology. May already be taking place. This is one where it's almost like an ice bath, but unfortunately the machine malfunctioned and the lady died and someone else ended up in critical condition. So that is quite sad news. Just be aware of what you're doing. That's it. Jump in an ice bath, don't have gas pumped into you. It's never a good thing, I promise you. Never good. So, it can be good if required. I think I had some of that put in my teeth because I'm having dentist works. Talking to dentist works, yep, it's Easter. So, happy Easter. Or Joyeux Pâques, I think. Easter is traditionally in England, it's a big Christian festival where we celebrate the crucifixion and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So that's quite exciting. And how do we do that? Well, some go to church, some have bank holidays. The majority of us eat chocolate eggs laid by the Easter Bunny. Paris have a strange way of having their Easter eggs delivered. How do they have them delivered? I shall tell you. From Maundy Thursday, which I think is that when Jesus went in? No, that's Palm Sunday. Maundy Thursday until Easter Sunday morning, church bells across Paris fall silent. And this is the time of mourning for the crucifixion of Christ. So the French Catholic tradition says the bells fly to Rome to be blessed by the Pope, returning on Easter Sunday for the sound of celebration. But for the children, the bells bring with them chocolate. So in Paris, historically a Catholic city, it observes Easter with some solemn beauty. The bells go quiet from Maundy Thursday until Easter Sunday. And that symbolises the mourning for the crucifixion. So children are told that the bells have flown to Rome to be blessed by the Pope. And when they return on Easter morning, they bring chocolates with them. So the French do eggs and chickens and bells and rabbits and fish. Just so you know that during the Belle Epoque, Easter marked a time for elegant family outings, and wealthy households would host elaborate Easter brunches with oysters, lamb, and early prototypes of chocolate creations. La Figaro from 1897 mentions Easter boxes being delivered to mistresses and mothers alike. A curious, not so subtle nod to the complexities of Parisian relationships. During revolutionary Paris, religious festivals were complicated. Easter was discouraged during the height of de-Christianisation in the 1790s, but even then, springtime festivals crept in under the new secular calendar. The season of Germinal. I don't know how that's pronounced. It's French. And this was a time that during the revolution, the calendar changed. That's a whole separate season, I suspect, because that's real weirdy times. That's probably a good time for me to be leaving this side of things because, well, it's been a while now, hasn't it? And you probably want to watch me going from Bastille down towards the Louvre. It's sort of like 4 streets, really. But there we go. Anyway, Rory, it's over to you.
Coffee Pot Conversations.
So for those of you that learn about the zone à trafic limité, here is a sign for it. I'll turn around because I forgot what it was called, so I had to read off the sign. But here is one of the signs. So it's great, but if you look what's taking place, unless you're aware of it, you don't know, right? So you're driving through, you're not really going to see that sign. You might see the sign coming from that direction if you're cutting in, but again, you're not really going to see it as Bastille, Opera. So it is a little bit awkward unless you're aware of the situation that's taking place. It's like when they put, new parking restrictions in and just publicise it in a local paper. No one reads a local paper, so unless you're aware, you don't know. But this here, Boulevard Henri IV, is where I came out, just there, from a half marathon. Walked up these stairs, use that toilet and start me a run. Oh, that's the thing I was going to say. When I was in there, what actually happened was, as I've opened the door, I've heard the hot air dryer going in the actual opening and closing bit. So yeah, that was lucky, because I didn't particularly fit very well with the door and the bag on my back. Not that I can show the bag on my back because I've got face tracking on the app, on the camera. But anyway, moving on, we are now walking down this road, hopefully heading towards where we want to go. I will check the map shortly, because I've got a feeling I'm probably in the wrong way. But hey, there we go. What's Paris without getting lost? That's right. So, I've got a choice. I can either take a 34-minute walk or a 34-minute walk. I know I've been walking for longer than 20 minutes, that shows how lost I got. One is, how long? One cuts through the Marais and one doesn't. So one cuts along the river, one cuts through the Marais. Let's try the Marais, because I think that might be slightly more exciting. So that's 1.5 miles, and the other one's 1.6 miles. So let's zoom in just a little bit, make sure I am going the right way, which difficult to tell on the camera. No, it would appear I'm going the wrong way. But there we go. Oopah. So just turning around, I'm going to crack a left. I don't know where I'm going to go. So I will just follow and see what happens. See you soon. So I'm going to be talking to you very briefly, sporadically, about the Marais and the history surrounding it. We all know, well, in theory, we all know that the Marais, Le Marais, means the marsh. And in Roman and early medieval times, the area was swampy. By the 12th century, religious orders began draining it and then building upon it. And the Knights Templar, hence the area within the Marais known as Temple, they had a stronghold, and the Order of Saint Martin de Champs brought structure to the growing settlement. So it's already started to build up and become firm. Now, within this area, there are streets that were desirable, and as a result of that, big houses, hôtels particuliers, were built. One of these, just before it was kind of a hôtel particulier, which is essentially a large house. On this particular street, that if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify with a video, you'll see we're walking down Rue de la Cérèse, which means street of the cherry tree, or Cherry Tree Avenue. And along here, you're going to notice shortly that numbers 13 to 17 used to be one of these hôtels particuliers that belonged to Evrard Titron de Tullet, and he was owner of the Titan Folly. Now, the Titan Folly is a former folly that was run by Jean-Baptiste Révélien. It became a wallpaper factory. It was located in the former Faubourg Saint-Antoine, where the first hot air balloon took off and where the Paris riots that led to the French Revolution began. And that was just the building on the left. So just to clarify, that the owner of that building on the left used to own the Titan Folly before it got converted to the wallpaper factory and the hot air balloons and Montgolfier brothers and all that malarkey. Now, in the 16th century, noblemen and the bourgeoisie were looking for plots large enough for the residences, and they turned up to this part of town which wasn't developed yet, hence the building of the Hôtel Particulier. So, throughout the centuries, Le Marais gradually came to offer one of the richest architectural gatherings in Paris. Today, loads of designer shops and museums, even got a lively gay district, and the old Jewish neighbourhood, they all sit within this French architectural history, having it on display. Check out this bad boy, look. It's going to do. Yeah, there's actually no reason for doing that, but so for those listening, what I did like a spiral inception style shot, where the camera rotates 180 degrees, just because I'm walking down the road. Oh, look at this building. Look at that. Poste téléphone. That's gorgeous, isn't it? That's a post office, which I kind of could guess gives it away by it says Post and Telegraphs. Anyway, so I did an it looks like a sort of almost 1920s Art Deco kind of place, but yeah, so I did that shot just because I'm walking down this road. I know where I am now, and smile on my face. There's a big blue whale, but yeah, so there we go. And I believe this is the infamous, no it's not, it's a church with a door. It's not the one that I'm used to. So here we are. I don't want to put my name to it, but I'm going to say Rue de Rivoli. So just to the right is Thingy. Marais. No, I'll tell you where we are. We're on Rue Saint-Antoine. Now, for those of you that were following, I want to say last night's clip, I've got no idea how this is all going to cut out. But for those of you that were watching and listening, I went to the part where I got lost, surprisingly, on my way to Les Halles. And I said, this is the place that I went to with Nev when we sat down and had a nice, whatever it was. I don't even know if we ate. Might have done. But anyway, we sat there and it was a place with a fisherman, with a pizzeria. Yeah. You know what, I think we mentioned it in episode 1.1 on eating in Paris with Nev. I'm sure we did. Wow, that seems like a long time ago. Anyway, I've run down this road. Okay, so the 17th century, so 1600 onwards, it was what they deemed the Marais' golden era. Under Henry IV, the Place Royale, which is now called Place des Vosges, was built. And it was one of the first examples of planned urban architecture in Paris. It's the big square with the grass in the middle and the buildings all look the same. Nev was actually there a few weeks back when she went with her girls. So many hôtels particuliers, they sprung up, and the Hôtel de Sully, Hôtel Carnavalet, which is now the Museum of Paris, and the Hôtel de Soubise is now part of the National Archives. As with much of Paris, the revolution transformed the Marais, and many of these houses were abandoned or repurposed. The Hôtel de Soubise, for instance, it was confiscated during the revolution, and then obviously later it did turn into that state archive. By the 19th century, the district had fallen into disrepair, and these townhouses were divided into cramped tenements. Yet, this decline preserved the medieval and 17th century layout. It wasn't redeveloped like the rest of the boulevard, such as what we're walking down Rue de Rivoli during Osman's I would say reign of terror. Depends how you look at it. Okay, just behind me, that's the Posh Monoprix that we spoke of. Went in there, got a free tote bag. They just opened up. Don't remember which year that was. Might have been last year, being 2023. Don't remember why we were there. Obviously we were just walking around 23. Might have been for Nev's 10k. Oh, I don't remember. It's because I've not got my notes. If I had my notes, I'd be able to tell you a little bit better. Anyway, back to the street, and I'm going to show you two places. One is my second favourite church in Paris, which I thought was the other one that I walked past, which you probably didn't see because I don't think I put the camera on. And the second one is a place that Nev went to when I was getting ready to interview Claudine Hemingway, season 1. I can't remember the number off the top of my head. Might have been 1.8, but it may not have been. Maybe 1.6. Really don't remember. But it was there. Nev came with for that one. She enjoyed it. Claudine Hemingway's an amazing lady. Hello and welcome to Coffee Pot Conversations, hosted by an Englishman in Paris. Today's episode 1.8 avec Claudine. And I'm going to flick back very shortly to the camera. Actually, I'm going to stop and then come back in a second because I want to do one of those transition shots. Okay, so I'm back, and this here, I did get told the name of it. I have since forgotten, so apologies, Barbara Lambisis of, where's my face gone, of the Wallace Fountain Society. But this is what I call the Red Church Door. So called because it has a red door. Really stepping forward so I don't get run over, because some people like taking out Londoners with their cars. So, moving back along the way, we have this place, which I know I said I wasn't going to do the old chunky chunkies, but I'm going to, because I want to take a transition photo. Huzzah! Okay, so this next place we're going to see, I've not been in, Nev has, and we will come back at some point and ask her what she thought of it, because I'm not sure what she thought. It looks a little bit like the place that I visited yesterday, or depending on when the episode airs as to when it was. This is November 29th, I believe. Episode's going to be for season 3. More vlog than podcast, I know that, and I do apologise to everyone. I just didn't have the confidence to go and sit in a coffee shop and do what I wanted to do, which is really annoying. Plus my face really hurting, and I've got a load of gear with me. Next time I do it, I'll either come just for the day, bosh, job done, or I will take 2 to 3 days to do it. And we'll take from there, or I may even do it with Nev and we work out how that's done, but we still have to have our romantic section. So, nonetheless, this is the place that Nev went to before meeting me for our conversation avec Claudine. Now this is La Fèvre Saint Paul, and for years it was really big on the gram. I don't think it's so big now, because sort of the novelty's worn off a little bit, and that's fine, it's allowed to. But we will find out what she thought of it in a proper interview, where I may even, but depending on if we come to Paris before I've done all the season, have a chat, may even pop back in it, I don't know. I've got so much to work out, and my face is really stopping me from talking properly. Anyway, I'm going to continue walking down this road, and we shall end up going somewhere like the Louvre. So when I say we're going to end up somewhere like the Louvre, I don't actually mean we're going to end up somewhere that's similar to the Louvre. I just mean we're going to end up near the Louvre, although we don't actually end up near the Louvre. I'm not going to tell you where we end up, but we do end up somewhere that isn't the Louvre in this episode. This here is merry-go-round when it works. Probably Friday morning isn't a good time for tourists to be about on a cold November. But here is, and I've just noticed, which I hadn't noticed before, not only a hammer, which is where I bought my pen for my interview with Barbara, but Fontaine Wallace. When I think back, after all those years of being in Paris, look, running water, I had no idea if these fountains provided fresh drinking water or not. Who knew? Anyway, continuing on, I've just realised I need to get Neve. Un béret neige pour Neve. Yeah, I know exactly where I'm going to go because I'm going to be walking along the Louvre, Rue de Rivoli, which we are actually on now. So the road just transitions from Rue Saint-Antoine to Rue de Rivoli. There's probably a bridge behind me, maybe one in front, I don't remember. And yes, I'm going to go get Neve Noir, un béret noir. There we go. Un béret noir, I don't know. So just behind me, you see a doorway. And the man with the camera looking for the insides. That's how intricate, painstaking these people are when they're doing their doorways. I don't know. I thought I was going to get beaten up then. Yeah, so I just made up. So there we go. So I'm just going to continue walking down Rue de Rivoli and eventually we will end up at the Louvre. So for now I'm going to keep quiet, enjoy the sights and not very many sounds. À Paris. Oh, apart from these signs here. So apologies, they're just, it's the way that the LEDs flicker and stuff, you don't really get a proper sense of what's going on in the camera. Unless, of course, when you look back, it's not flickering, in which case there's a flicker. And I apologise. So, from the 13th century onwards, and especially the 19th and 20th centuries, the Marais became the heart of Jewish life in Paris. The area around Rue des Rosières, Pletzel, from the Yiddish for little place, still holds that identity. Now, strange thing about the word Pletzel, I'd never heard of it before. I've heard of the word Platzel, which is like almost like a bagel, but without a hole. It's like a squashed roll. Very different to a roll, though. So I kind of learnt that whilst working out the research for this episode. A shtetl, similar as a little place, but that's more of like a ghetto. But anyway, during the Second World War, the community was tragically targeted by the Vichy regime, which I have mentioned during the Casablanca episode, which was episode 1.6. And memorials now mark certain schools and doorways where children were taken away to the concentration camps. The Rue de Rosières still holds kosher bakeries, falafel shops and synagogues. And I actually went into one of these kosher bakeries with Neve, which again I believe I did mention in 1.1, also mentioned in episode 1.2.5 when I was talking to April in Paris. Okay, so I know French love their play on words and I like those bits as well. Not necessarily puns, but I'm just going to show you the name of two shops. And one is, see you soon, and everyone, come on Eileen. Yeah, not really sure the relevance, but I did like it. So there we go. Right, back to the walk down Rue de Rivoli. So in the late 20th century, the Marais became a centre for the LGBTQ plus life in Paris. With affordable rents and abandoned spaces ripe for gentrification, artists, writers and shopkeepers all moved in. By the 1990s, it was the heart of gay nightlife and culture. It remains an iconic queer district, although many lament that gentrification has made it too chic to be subversive. And just through there, just there, is the building, the restaurant, the cafeteria, the brasserie, bistro that I pointed out yesterday. So as I walked down Rue de Rivoli, I was going to say it was about 2 o'clock, but that's because I turned my body, and it's now 3 o'clock, so that doesn't really count. But it was the building, the eatery that I mentioned last night and earlier today, where Nev and myself ate baby soda fisherman. So there we go. Anyway, enough chitty chatty. Oh, I walked down this road yesterday and I cut up, and the reason I know that is because just here on the right is the building there, Le BHV. I don't, look, we know my French isn't great, we know I don't know the letters, but it's BHV of the Marais. So all behind that area is the Marais. And here is another urinoir. But I don't need it because I've already been. And this building here, I believe it was this one. Probably find out I was wrong. Walked the other side of that yesterday. It's the town hall. The Ville de la Cité. À l'Hôtel de Ville de Paris. That's close enough. And here we go. Just coming up is the reception to the town hall reception, Hôtel de Ville. That. So you've got some gifts going on for Christmas. Anyway, back to my walk. Okay, if we take a look through the fountains of the town hall, you will see the digger. But beyond the digger is the spire and towers, probably the bell tower of Notre Dame. And that's on my left, walking down Rue de Rivoli. So we're just soaking up the sights and the sounds of Paris. Well, the sights for those on YouTube and watching the video on Spotify. Otherwise, it's simply the sounds. And one sound we do like is the sound of the emergency services sirens. Very Parisien.
Ah bon?
Just look at these tables, look. And they're gorgeous. This is like wood and flowers, almost like an acrylic. It's not the word I'm looking for. It's where they pour their liquid on and it settles. I can't think what it's called. Resin, there we go. Yeah, that was quite nice. You do find people do try a lot actually, which is good. Anyway, c'est la rue de Rivoli. Whoop. And alright, so for those of you that were with me yesterday, this is a tower that I think I saw when I said need to head towards it and then get to Liao. I'm not sure that that's the actual tower that I meant. This is Tour Saint-Jacques. It might have been that one. Probably was, thinking about it, and I've just taken the wrong exit because I walked down past BHV instead of carrying upwards further into the city. So, whoops. Anyway. Oh, I'm going to stop and take one of my transitions.
Coffee Pot Conversations.
Thank you for watching episode 3.8, a November overnight stay in Paris. That was me walking from Bastille down to the Tour Saint-Jacques. And I would like to say thank you to the people of Paris that allowed me to wander the streets, talking like a madman. And that's that. Friend of the show, Frankie, she went to Paris during the last week or the week before, I don't remember which, but it was during April. And she came back. And she said she had a thoroughly wonderful time. And in the messages that she sent me, you could actually hear her tone of voice with the vast excitement. I have said to her, once I'm ready, I will come and have a chat with her, a proper interview about her time in Paris. She went with her mum, her sister and her niece. Sounds like she thoroughly enjoyed it. She's a bit of a foodie. As we know, she bakes cakes. And yeah, it looked like she had a nice time, which is good. So thank you, Frankie, friend of the show. I normally tell people where to find the podcast, but if you're listening, you know where it is. But you're still better off watching the videos on Spotify with a video bit or YouTube. You can still do Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast platforms. But you know this because this is what you're doing. You're hearing my voice or you're watching me walking through Galeries Lafayette in November 2024. But that's only if you're watching the videos. You can also watch a video on my blog site, An Englishman in Paris .blog, where you can read up different stuff, and that is part of my blogcast as well, which I'm slowly building up the episodes for. That's on Spotify, and I think you can watch them on YouTube, but it's just one of those static picture watching things, not very exciting. Anyway, it's time for Jasper's jingle.
Coming up on Coffee Pot Conversations.
we have the final section of this season, episode 3.9, a November overnight stay in Paris. Yep. Do I make it to the Louvre? Who knows? And from the Louvre, where do we go? I know, but that's for you guys to find out. The best bits will be different. I suspect that we have already realised that, and that's not an issue for you, because by the time you get there, it would have already been done. For me, big issue, but I've got plenty of time to worry about it. But in the land of podcasts, it's just 2 episodes away. I need to finish season 4 on video for you guys, because it's only fair, because you've been with me thus far. And for those of you joining, start from the back. Plenty of back catalogue for you to catch up on. At least 2.5 seasons already. For now, time for the outro, which will possibly be changing at the end of season 4, because I haven't got enough time to do it between now and the beginning of season 4. And we shall see you later on. Thanks for tuning into Coffee Pot Conversations today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode. Also, if you have a story from a past trip, a question about your next one, or something you'd just love to share, send an email to podcast@englishmaninparis.blog, or message me on Instagram @EnglishmanInParisBlog, where you can follow me. Until next time, keep the coffee hot, the pot warm, and the conversation cool.
Coffee Pot Conversations.